History has it that the interaction between white and the black folks has never had a good end, as the former, in their supremacy ideology, often tend to effectively utilize every opportunity to exploit, oppress, dehumanize, and devise possible ways to gag and shush the agonizing cries of the latter from being heard by the outside world. This, for a fact, has proven excellently true time after time. However, today we are taking you into the realm of ancient texts and forgotten lore, where also a sad tale of suppression and resilience historically unfolds. It's a story of how the Ethiopian Bible, a sacred scripture older than the King James Version, was aggressively fought and relegated to the shadows by colonial powers and missionary zealots. Let us embark on this journey through the ages, tracing the threads of history that weave a complex tapestry of cultural identity, imperial ambition, and the unyielding spirit of a nation. Do not forget to like, share to help spread consciousness, and subscribe to stay tuned in if you are yet to. Your support means a great deal. Now, to the big question. Have you ever given a deep thought as to why some spectacular breeds will conspire with certain manipulated religious heads to silence the one holy book that is not only spiritually inspired, but historically proves the origin of African spirituality, descent, and their ancient walk with their Creator? Have you also sat back to ponder on what could be contained in this book to necessitate its ban and complete omission from the mainstream religious book known today? What is behind the banning of the Ethiopian Bible? Why would anyone silence its usage around the world? Now to the digest.
This is the oldest book in Ethiopia.
No more painting, only writing, damaged.
Okay.
Original.
This is the original.
Original, Mary.
In the 1st century AD, Ethiopia embraced Christianity, its roots entwining with the ancient faith of the Hebrews. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church flourished, crafting its unique traditions and scripture, the Ge'ez Bible. This venerable text, penned in the liturgical language of Ge'ez, contained books like the Book of Enoch, Jubilees, and the Ascension of Isaiah, works that would later be excluded from the Western Christian canon. The history of the Ethiopian Bible is intertwined with the history of Ethiopia. Hence, we cannot talk about the Ethiopian Bible without taking a brief look at Ethiopia in ancient times, its religious history, and the emanation of the Ethiopian Bible. Located in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia is known to have a rich and ancient history that dates back thousands of years. The country is known for being one of the oldest Christian nations in the world, with a history that is deeply intertwined with religion, culture, and tradition. Ethiopia is as old as the world itself, and so are the discoveries in her. Ethiopia was known to have never been colonized, once home to the powerful Aksumite Empire, which flourished from the 1st to the 7th century AD. The Aksumites were known for their advanced civilization, impressive architecture, and thriving trade networks. They were also, most importantly, one of the first civilizations to adopt Christianity as their official religion, a decision that would shape the country's identity for centuries to come. Going forward, as the centuries passed, Ethiopia's Christian heritage blossomed, untouched by the ravages of time. But the winds of change arrived with the European colonizers and their missionaries in the 19th century. In 1835, the British and Foreign Bible Society set foot in Ethiopia, bearing the King James Version as their standard. They sought to translate the Bible into Amharic, the vernacular tongue, but omitted the apocryphal books, deeming them heretical. This sparked a chain reaction of events that would shake the foundations of Ethiopian Christianity. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to make contact with the Ethiopians. The missionaries they always arrayed in their front in these expeditions was a disguise of their real purpose for visitation and the real stuff they came with. They had brought with them new technologies, ideas, and most importantly, firearms. All these were harmful contributions to a society and a contamination of a nation's peaceful existence. This introduction of guns would have a profound impact on the country's future, as it would change the balance of power between the various factions vying for control of the region. The Europeans had brought with themselves a new religion called Catholicism. This would further intensify the clash with the traditionally Ethiopian Orthodox Church. In 1868, Italian Catholic missionaries arrived, furthering the suppression of the Ge'ez Bible. They viewed the ancient text as a relic of a bygone era, a hindrance to their mission of converting Ethiopians to Western Christianity. Emperor Tewodros II, a stalwart defender of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, resisted the encroachment of Western influence. He saw the missionaries' actions as an affront to Ethiopia's cultural identity and spiritual heritage and seized all of them. But his efforts were later on short-lived, as the tide of colonial oppression proved too strong and brutal, with all its technology of destruction unleashed against Ethiopia. The British shelled Magdala, which killed most of Tewodros's remaining soldiers in the fight. On April the 15th, same year of 1868, as the British troops stormed the citadel of Magdala, Emperor Tewodros committed suicide rather than surrender. This religious divide and war led to tensions and conflicts within the country, as different factions fought for control over the hearts and minds of the Ethiopian people. In the 1870s, Emperor Menelik II ascended to the throne, facing immense pressure from European powers yet again. He acquiesced later on to the missionaries' demands, allowing them to establish schools and hospitals. This marked the beginning of a new era, one in which Western Christianity would gain a foothold in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, however, refused to yield. Patriarch Matthias, a fiery advocate for the Ge'ez Bible, protested the suppression of the ancient text. He rallied his flock, ensuring the preservation of their sacred scripture. As the 20th century dawned, Ethiopia's struggle for independence intensified. Invaded by the Italian army under the leadership of Benito Mussolini in that time, the Italians sought to colonize Ethiopia and make it part of their expanding empire. But they were met with fierce resistance from the Ethiopian people, who rallied around their emperor, Haile Selassie, whom it is also said was from the Solomonic dynasty. The Italian occupation from 1936 to 1941 saw the Ethiopian or Ge'ez Bible banned, its possession punishable by imprisonment. Yet the Ethiopian people held fast to their heritage, safeguarding the ancient text in secret. This was known to be one of the most infamous episodes in Ethiopian history. By banning the Ethiopian Bible, these colonial powers aimed to 1. Suppress African cultural identity. 2. Erase historical connections to the ancient Israelites and the Solomonic dynasty. 3. Imposing Western Christian dominance. 4. Control the narrative and interpretation of Christianity in Africa. However, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church resisted this suppression, preserving the Ge'ez Bible and its traditions. Going forward, let's even have a closer look at this sacred book that the West desired so much to destroy. The Ethiopian Bible, also known as the Ge'ez Bible, or the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church Canon, is a collection of religious texts that are unique to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. It is composed of 81 books, including the traditional 66 books of the Old and New Testaments, as well as several additional books such as the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the Ascension of Isaiah. The Ethiopian Bible, one of the oldest books in the world, has a long and storied history dating back to the early centuries of Christianity in Ethiopia. According to tradition, the Ethiopian eunuch mentioned in the Book of Acts was one of the first converts to Christianity in the region, and he is said to have brought the faith back to Ethiopia with him. Over the centuries, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church developed its own unique liturgical and theological traditions, which are reflected in the Ethiopian Bible. It is also believed that Queen Sheba, who also was talked about in the Holy Scriptures, was from a kingdom called Saba, modern-day Yemen and Ethiopia. She had met with King Solomon and, according to some legends, had a son with him. That son, who was named Menelik, somehow got a hold of the Ark of the Covenant and brought it back to Ethiopia. This would lead to the nation's zeal with Judaism. The earliest evidence of Christianity in Ethiopia dates back to the 4th century, when the Ethiopian king, Ezana, converted to Christianity. This conversion was followed by a period of growth in Christianity throughout the region. During this period, the early church fathers translated the Bible into the Ge'ez language, allowing the Ethiopian people to read and study the Bible in their own language. The translation of the Bible was not completed until the 8th century, when the monk Abba Pantaleon completed the translation from Greek into Ge'ez. The Bible was then divided into two books. The larger book, known as the Kebra Nagast, contains the Old Testament, and the smaller book, known as the Fetha Nagast, contains the New Testament. The Ethiopian Bible has gone through several revisions over the centuries. In 1630, the Bible was revised for the first time in over 500 years. This revision was undertaken by the scholar Abba Bare, who was tasked by the Emperor Johannes I with updating the translation. Abba Bare's revision was the first major revision of the Bible since its original translation, and it helped to bring the Bible up to date with modern language and understanding. This goes a long way to confirm that Christianity was long birthed in Ethiopia before the introduction of the Europeans' version of Christianity. One of the most distinctive features of the Ethiopian Bible is the inclusion of the Book of Enoch, a text that is considered apocryphal by most other Christian traditions. The Book of Enoch is highly revered in Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity and is believed to contain important teachings and prophecies. In addition to the Book of Enoch, the Ethiopian Bible also includes other unique texts, such as the Book of Jubilees, the Ascension of Isaiah, and a host of many others. These texts provide valuable insights into the religious beliefs and practices of ancient Ethiopian Christians. The Bible is written in Ge'ez, an ancient Semitic language that is no longer spoken as a mother tongue. Despite this linguistic barrier, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has preserved the Ge'ez language for religious purposes, ensuring that the Ethiopian Bible continues to be read and studied in its original form. The Ethiopian Bible has played a central role in the religious life of Ethiopians for centuries. It has been used in worship services, as well as in private devotions and study. The texts contained in the Ethiopian Bible have been passed down through generations, preserved by scribes and monks who painstakingly copied them by hand, until the 16th century, when the Ethiopian Bible faced a significant challenge that culminated into what led to its ban. In 1526, a Portuguese missionary named Francisco Alvarez had arrived in Ethiopia with the goal of converting the Ethiopian Orthodox Church to Roman Catholicism. As part of this effort, Alvarez sought to introduce the Latin Vulgate Bible to Ethiopia and to suppress the use of the Ethiopian Bible. Despite Alvarez's efforts, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church resisted the imposition of the Latin Vulgate and continued to use the Ethiopian Bible in its worship and teaching. However, in the centuries that followed, the Ethiopian Bible would face further challenges, including attempts by European missionaries to promote the Protestant Bible over the Ethiopian canon. In the 19th century, however, it was then that the Ethiopian Bible would officially be banned from mainstream religious use by the Ethiopian government. Influence behind this had been conspicuously Western. The ban was part of a broader effort to modernize and westernize Ethiopia, which included the adoption of Western educational and religious practices. As a result, the Ethiopian Bible fell out of favor in official circles, and its use was restricted to more traditional and rural communities. Despite this ban, the sacred text continued to be cherished by many Ethiopians, who would always see it as a symbol of their cultural and religious identity. In recent years, there has been a renewed interest in the Ethiopian Bible, both within Ethiopia and among scholars and researchers around the world. This interest has led to the publication of new translations and studies on the Ethiopian Bible, shedding light on its unique history and significance. The controversies surrounding the faulting and banning of the Ethiopian or Ethiopic or Ge'ez Bible, whichever one it is called, never had any logical basis for the act. It was clearly oppressive, racist, and inhumane. Amongst the Ethiopian biblical texts, books like the Book of Enoch had been immediately cut out from the rest of the scriptures because of the revelations it holds. European missionaries viewed the Book of Enoch as heretical and incompatible with their own interpretation of Christianity. They saw it as a threat to their efforts to convert the Ethiopian people to their own version of Christianity, and as a result, they pressured the Ethiopian government to ban the Book of Enoch and other non-canonical texts from being used or taught in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Religious conflicts within Ethiopia, generated from the infiltrations coming from white missionaries who were loyal agents of colonialism, contributed immensely to the banning of its sacred text, a book whose sacred and historic essence or authenticity far outweighs any Bible which the West has to offer. The Holy Scriptures is more to the Ethiopians than it is or would ever be to the West. It has a lot to do with the very origin of the Ethiopians and the black collective than it has to do with the whites. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church had been divided into different factions, each with its own interpretations of Scripture and traditions. Some factions within the church still viewed the Book of Enoch as essential to their faith, while others would see it as a dangerous and heretical text. Ultimately, the Ethiopian government, under pressure from European missionaries and facing internal religious conflicts, decided to ban the entire sacred texts, which they considered non-canonical, from being used in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. This decision had a significant impact on the church and its followers, leading to further divisions and tensions within the community. European missionaries further played a significant role in shaping the outcome of the controversial decision regarding the Ethiopian people and their religious traditions. These missionaries, primarily from Catholic and Protestant denominations, sought to convert the Ethiopian Orthodox Christians to their own faiths. They viewed the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as a heretical sect and sought to bring the Ethiopian people into the fold of European Christianity. Colonial powers, particularly those from Italy and Britain, sought to weaken the church's influence and bring the Ethiopian people under their control. Also, the need to hide Africans' history further necessitated the ban of the Ethiopian Bible. One way in which Europeans sought to hide Africans' history was through the ban of the Book of Enoch, or the Ethiopic Book of Enoch. This ancient text is considered sacred by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and contains important religious and historical information about the African continent. By suppressing the Ethiopian Bible, Europeans meant to erase or distort the history and cultural heritage of Africans. This was part of a broader strategy to undermine the identity and autonomy of African societies, and to justify the exploitation and subjugation of the African people. The combination of pressure from European missionaries and colonial powers ultimately led to a weakening of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and a shift towards European Christianity among some segments of the population. This decision had lasting implications for the Ethiopian people and their religious traditions, as it led to a division within the Ethiopian Christian community and a loss of some of their traditional practices and beliefs. The books of the Ethiopian Bible that were banned include the books of Enoch, Jubilees, Ascension of Isaiah, Tobit, Judith, Baruch, Sirach, Wisdom, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, and many others. Let's go fetch a little insight on the information these books hold. Number 1, the Book of Enoch. The text of this book is attributed to the biblical figure Enoch, who was taken up to heaven. The book contains unique material on the origins of demons and Nephilim, why some angels fell from heaven, an explanation of why the Genesis flood was morally necessary, and a prophetic exposition of the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah. Now to the second, Jubilees, also known as the Book of Jubilees. The text of this sacred book is a book retelling the biblical history from creation to the giving of the law at Mount Sinai, with a focus on the importance of observing the Sabbath and other religious practices. The next on the list is the Book of the Ascension of Isaiah. This is an ancient Jewish text that is not included in the traditional Ethiopian Bible. However, it is considered a part of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church's broader canon of Scripture. The book is a prophetic vision attributed to the prophet Isaiah, in which he is taken up to the 7th heaven and given a revelation of the end times. The text describes the coming of the Antichrist, the final judgment, and the ultimate victory of God and good over evil. The Book of the Ascension of Isaiah also contains teachings on the nature of angels, demons, and the afterlife. It is a complex and mysterious text that has been the subject of much scholarly debate and interpretation. Now, to the fourth, Tobit. Briefly put, the sacred text of this particular book, called Tobit, tells us about the story of Tobit, a righteous man who is blinded and experiences various trials and tribulations, but is ultimately rewarded for his faithfulness. Next on the list is Judith, The Book of Judith, on the other hand, tells the story of a brave Jewish widow named Judith who saves her people from the invading Assyrian army by seducing and beheading their general, Holofernes. Now, to the sixth, the Book of Baruch. Briefly put, the text of this book called Baruch is attributed to Baruch, a scribe and companion of the prophet Jeremiah, and contains prayers and reflections on the exile of the Jewish people. The seventh, Sirach, which is also known as Ecclesiasticus. This book is more or less a collection of wisdom sayings and advice for living a righteous life. The eighth, the Book of Wisdom, also known as the Wisdom of Solomon. The text of this particular book, written by the son of King David, who had later on ascended the throne after his father's death, shares a philosophical reflection on the nature of wisdom and the importance of living a virtuous life. And finally, the ninth is the Books of the Maccabees. This sacred book recounts the history of the Maccabean revolt against the Seleucid Empire and the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem, with events that are celebrated during the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. These books were all banned by the West, considered heretical for none other reason than the unfiltered expressions of revelations and truth that they hold. They were considered non-canonical. However, not all Ethiopians fell for the lies. These books were still considered sacred and authoritative by the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. In 1950, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church gained autonomy, and the Gaia's Bible began its journey back into the spotlight. Today, it remains a testament to the unyielding spirit of the Ethiopian people, a symbol of their cultural identity and resilience in the face of adversity. The Ethiopian Bible, with its unique blend of Christian and Jewish traditions, representing a rich and diverse cultural heritage, is being preserved and passed down through generations. By banning this text, authorities are not only silencing the voices of Ethiopian Christians, but also erasing a vital part of their history and identity. The decision to ban this sacred text reflects a long history of colonialism, imperialism, and religious intolerance that has been on for as long as anyone can remember and sought to suppress and control the beliefs and practices of marginalized communities. In closing, the tale of the Ethiopian Bible's suppression serves as a poignant reminder of the complex interplay between colonialism, cultural identity, and the power of faith. It is a call to action to stand in solidarity with those whose voices have been silenced. It is a story that whispers through the ages, a testament to the enduring legacy of a nation that refused to surrender its heritage to the forces of oppression. That brings us to the end of yet another eye-opening video. Don't forget to support our works by hitting that thumb button in front of you, share with friends and families to keep spreading consciousness, and subscribe if you are too. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you for watching.